So this guy just flew into Midtown and started attacking people, demanding for Superman to show up?
Yeah, it's all in the article.
That would mean I'd actually have to make it through your writing, Clark.
All righty. Let's try this and see if it all works out.
Okay. I suppose it's blown up quite big. So, put me in the centre of the...
Oh my God, it is great.
I had nightmares about this.
That doesn't go really well. There. Or there. Probably there.
I thought we might do an interview. I could fill you in on all the behind the scenes. Oh wait, no, you're right.
It's earlier, yeah. We just push into him a little bit as he realizes that. Like that, and then slapping the side of the thing, like time to take off. Yeah.
Okay, cut. Thank you. We are set. Get up. Please get up.
They're not doing anything. It would probably be going. I mean, it's going to be whatever's easiest for. I began working on this script before I was the head of DC, so it was a while back, a few years ago. And I'd been just trying to figure out how I would tell a Superman story. And really the biggest inspiration for it was, you know, I went back and reread a lot of my Superman comic books. And the ones that really spoke to me were Grant Morrison's and Frank Quitely's and Jimmy Grant's All-Star Superman. And it wasn't that I wanted to tell that story, but the vibe of it seemed very much like the Superman movie I'd like to put on screens. It feels relieving today because people like the movie and that's cool, and so it feels like a relief, you know, and I'm ready to take a nap. Well, I think that this is a story, you know, that on the outside is a story of Lex Luthor and Superman, and how Lex wants to bring down Superman for his own reasons. But in an interior way, it's about Superman having certain beliefs about himself, confronting those beliefs and learning things about himself he didn't know, and then, you know, trying to deal with that information. So it's a personal journey in that way. Well, David is just, you know, listen, David was one of the first people who auditioned, and I was so grateful because he's got the acting chops, he's got the comedy chops, he's able to deliver the fast-paced dialogue as I add it, and of course he looks a heck of a lot like Superman, and he's able to do a lot of the, you know, more athletic stuff that it takes because we have him hung up in all these crazy rigs for the stunts. So there's just not too many people that check all those boxes, if any, in the world, besides David Corenswet. So I knew he was Superman. Well, I think that it's important, you know, all my characters are important in being full-fledged, you know, characters and people. And for Lois, you know, this needed to be somebody that Superman was in love with, head over heels in love with. And so she needed to be as powerful as he was in a different way. And that's the way she was written, and also that's what Rachel brings to the role. I mean, you see them talking. He's on his back foot a lot because she's just a force of nature. And I think that that was really important, that the relationship was something that was equal, was an equal relationship. Villains are always rough because villains, you know, you got to hate them, but at the same time you want to believe what their stories are. And I think that's what, you know, Nick brought so beautifully to this role. I think this is really Lex Luthor. It's one of the things I'm proudest of in the whole movie, because Lex is what Lex really is at his best moments in the comics. He's a guy who's driven by jealousy and envy so much that he's rationalized himself into believing that he's saving humanity because of what he's doing, and that his jealousy is almost like a calling. I think that you go into this movie and, you know, you want to be Superman. He's powerful, he flies, he's strong, he's a superhero. And then you watch the movie and you see, what does Superman want? He wants to be us. He wants to be able to connect to other people, to feel loved and feel like he loves someone else, to not be alone. And so I would hope that we would go out of the theater and just feel a little bit more grateful to be ourselves and find that Superman in us. It feels good. I think, for me, I make movies because I like making movies, and making this movie was one of the best experiences I've ever had. I enjoyed filming it, I enjoyed editing it, I enjoyed writing it, and I enjoyed the collaboration with all of the artists around me, whether it was the actors or the department heads that helped to create this movie with me, and then believed in my vision enough to put themselves into that. So this has been a remarkable journey, and the fact that people are enjoying the film is just the icing on the cake, really.
Long time coming, right? I mean, I don't know when you guys, I actually do know when you guys found out when you got your job.
Because you were right there.
Anthony, I don't know when you found out you were in this movie.
Don't put me on the spot with that. I do not know the day or the week, but I do remember the elation, the sense of elation when I was like, what? Oh my God, I'm gonna be in Superman. This is nuts.
I knew when you got the job on the same day.
You knew when I got the job before I knew that I got the job.
I knew that you knew that. I knew that you didn't know, but did I give it away?
Yes, you gave it away.
What?
You said, I'll see you soon.
I'll see you soon instead of like, see you later.
Yeah, instead of see you later. But I didn't register that until they told me, and I went, that's what that was with Isabella.
You put it together.
And then I put it together.
But I knew that I had this job at the end of Guardians 3.
That's right.
At the premiere of Guardians 3.
Wait, what?
Yeah. That's when I found out. At the premiere of Guardians 3, that's when James and Peter told me I'd be Guy Gardner.
That's a great day.
It was a great
That's a
day.
great day right there.
Yeah, it was a lot to celebrate that day. So for me, it's been a long, long time.
Wow.
So it's about time. And, oh man, this is the first time I've seen a movie before the premiere. I've seen it now, and the premiere, the world premiere, we're coming up to it, and I've already seen it. This is the first, so I've been able to absorb it, and I know people are gonna love it. I know they are. What's fantastic is James. Nothing changes about James except for the scope of his projects. To be honest, just I think more people understand what I came to understand many years ago on a little movie called Slither. That he is really good at his job. He loves to tell stories, and he's just passionate about projects and being true to the project. And his heart is always in the right place, and he knows how to make us feel something. And I think that's. If I walk away from a film, a television show, and I have felt something, be it negative, be it sad, be it angry, but if it's made me feel, I consider that a successful project.
I got a really nice question yesterday, and it made me think about how I relate to Hawk Girl in the sense that I growing up in this industry to an extent, I wasn't always successful. It's been a slow ride up to where I am now. but I've always been surrounded by a corporate world, even as a young woman, and a bunch of dudes usually. Hello. So it was really interesting to portray a different version of myself had I probably been a pessimist, right? And a little bit unafraid to show maybe my distaste or my discomfort, or, you know, she's just like a sassier, more stubborn version of myself in this world where normally a younger woman would probably be intimidated and uncomfortable. I really like and admire how she handles herself, and I'm really curious to see how it evolves, seeing this new world being established and whatnot.
It's his code of ethics. I mean, his superpower is his brain, but it's not just his brain, it's what he decides that he does with it. He is haunted by a trauma, losing his wife and his unborn child, and instead of having that define the rest of his life, it fuels his brilliance.
Well, I think he's certainly a complicated character. I mean, visually, for sure. But I think, you know, the thing that I really attached to from the get-go, you know, that I got from the comic books is basically just how he feels about himself and this kind of deep shame that he carries in terms of what he feels he's cursed with, right? You can look on the outside and think like, oh, he's so powerful, almost godlike in his power, but he feels, cursed by it. And just on a personal level, I mean, you know, through my alopecia stuff, I always felt similarly kind of that way and held a lot of that shame. So I could really kind of latch on to that about the character, and and so whenever you get that as an actor, it's really, you know, quite cathartic.
You have to be very, very talented to do what he does. You also have to have incredible business acumen to do what he does. It's two very different talents. Empathy, I think might be, because he knows how to reach people through feelings. Mm-hmm. He knows how to get you to feel something. He's not manipulating you. He's almost enticing your heart to. He's a heart squeezer.
Heart squeezer.
Yeah.
Crypto.
Sequel.
Sure.
Sequel, for sure.
When are we going to see it again?
Superman wears trunks. And I think, you know what? I think this is something I've been thinking about a lot, you guys. David's Clark Kent is far more sincere, I think, than any Clark Kent we've seen. Both his Clark and his Superman are real people. They're not caricatures of something. They're not a put-on commentary of humanity as somebody else might see it from a superior thing. It's sincere, it's realistic, and it's a heartfelt Clark Kent, I feel. Did I mention the Justice Gang?
They're gonna, nonstop Justice Gang talk.
We're those four sexy people.
Bowl cuts. Bowl cuts are coming back.
Yeah. Bowl cuts and red undies on the outside of your tights.
It was one of those things where James did such a beautiful job of creating a family on and off screen. He brought us together. He built the start of this new DCU family, which we feel very honored to be a part of. And James also creates a family out of his sets wherever he goes. We got to be the new kids on the block in this very well-oiled machine that he's taken with him from project to project. And he brought such energy and passion and love for these characters and this material, and that trickled down. It just made us all want to come to work every day and keep doing better day after day. It was a blast, and I hope that shows on screen.
My favorite thing is when Superman saves the girl from the barrel, from the gas tanks being thrown at, the big slow motion shot. I love that shot. That's super cool.
My favorite thing, I think, was I got to see the film. And it made me feel like I did when I was like in the cinema when I was like 10 years old, having some of those like formative experiences with going to the theater to watch movies, where I was completely transported, and it was magical, and it uplifted me in such a wonderful way that when I walked out of the film, I just felt so happy to be, sounds weird, but human and alive and surrounded by such wonderful people that we made the film with, but also to just go out and it inspires goodness. So I'm excited by what the movie represents, and I'm also excited to share the movie with like my kids and a new generation.
I don't know that he is, except insofar as they're technically the same person. I think one fun thing about our film is it doesn't really fully explore Clark Kent as a journalist. You certainly see some of Clark at the Daily Planet, and the question of him giving sort of softball interviews to Superman and writing very glowing pieces about him is, it brings up some ethical questions.
Journalistic integrity.
But in the comics, especially in All-Star Superman, there are all these great long sequences where Clark is Clark, and he's doing his reporting, and he's chasing down the stories and trying to exert a little bit of good influence in the world as the character of Clark. And it'd be really fun to get to explore that a little more in future films.
I think she's an everyday superhero. I think while Clark has super strength and heat vision and can fly, she has the power of the pen, and she has the ability to move the needle in the world that she lives in. I think one of the things I appreciate about James's take on this material is, and he expressed this to me very early on, that he was really interested in exploring Lois's power and necessity as a journalist, in recognizing the importance of a free and fair press, and somebody who will sometimes quite literally go to the ends of the earth for the things that she believes in. I think we all feel like that has always felt important, but perhaps never more important than right now.
I was very lucky where James had written a really dynamic, shaded character on the page, and that was what was exciting to me when first reading the script. I looked at it and I went, okay, even if you're not a comic book fan or particularly a Superman fan, you have this idea of what a villain is and the evil they portray, and Lex Luthor perhaps. So it was exciting for me to look at the blueprint of his script and talk to James about that, and then go back and research comics and the history of Lex and be like, okay, well, what else can we mine and learn here that we can add to this character to present something slightly different in this movie that still services the story. So that was something really enjoyable to develop with James. Yeah.
Kind of like working with a kid in not a candy shop, but like a comic book store or a toy shop. He has such love and joy and gratitude to be doing what he's doing, and he works so hard, but mostly because he loves it and he wants it to be good, and he gets such a kick out of all of the things that we get to do, the sets and the creatures and the props and the robots and the costumes. He just very often is lighting up with that boyish wonder, and that energy is infectious and makes the whole process feel much more like making a movie with your friends in your backyard than working on one of the biggest films of the year and a tentpole blockbuster.
It was probably my first 2 days on set when we shot the interview scene together. It was a scene that we'd all lived with for quite some time at that point. It was a scene that, we auditioned with in our living rooms with our real life partners, and then got to chemistry read with together, and then spent the next, you said about 8 months thinking about and talking about and, trying to, it felt like it showed all the different colors of who these two characters were. And so not only was it a really fun way to dig into these characters and explore them so deeply over the course of those 2 days, but it was also so inspiring to watch James have a really clear vision for what the scene was to look like, but also to make space for us as actors, to make space for our thoughts and feelings about what was going on, and to try things and I think that sense of wonder and joy, and also James being the hardest working person on set at any given moment, really inspires everybody else to keep raising the bar for themselves. And that was just the beginning. And so it was really exciting to be like shot out of a rocket on this journey.
One thing I loved about working with James, aside from just him being a brilliant writer that you know, gives you really fun dialogue to play with, is his honesty. You know, fairly early on when we were rehearsing and stuff, I went and sat with him and spoke about the character and the scenes, and then we kind of went and did like a rehearsal, just him and I, so we could workshop some scenes and figure some stuff out for the character. And that was great, because I really felt in that moment that I was getting like honest, raw feedback that meant that we could push the character and develop it better and you know, deliver what he wanted for the film. So that was a great thing, first of all, because I was like, okay, I trust this guy. I love his movies that he's made previously, but now I know he's like here with me and like really going to push me. And then also his warmth. You know, there was a scene later on in the movie where we did something that was described in the stage directions, I suppose. And after we did the shot, and James came in with a big grin on his face and gave me a hug and was like, that was it, and like just really overjoyed with like, you know, bringing what he's imagined to life, and how enthusiastic he is for that.
Hope.
Yeah, just inspired for goodness. Yeah.
That was 3 words.
3 words.
Not if I say it quick. Inspired for goodness. If I say it like that, inspired for goodness. 1 word.
Energy.
It's just, it feels like a relief, because for a year and a half, it's just been building up anticipation and excitement. And I'm like, I want people to finally see it, because everybody in my life is like, that's amazing, Superman, have you seen it? I can't wait to see it, for like a year now. So I'm just like, I cannot wait for people to be able to actually talk about it, instead of just talking what it's going to be like.
Oh,
Wendell.
I
Wendell.
think
Definitely.
yeah. That's why I'm the boss, and no, I have a huge capacity of curiosity and wanting to change the world, and exercising my right of self-determination and having an impact on the world is important to me and important to my character too. So, yeah, I'm the one that I think I would be the best journalist.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah,
our
Wendell,
boss.
Wendell knows everything.
Yeah.
He is a wealth of knowledge. Yeah.
James, I think he just had a take on Jimmy that was so funny and kind of new. And the thing that he said to me from the beginning, which was so exciting, he just would basically say, "You are Jimmy, you know. So whatever you do, that's it. That's Jimmy. And if you ever veer too far, you know he'll bring you back, because he has so much respect for the material and such a knowledge of the history of the material." So I think that he, like when I first got the role, my initial instinct was to deep dive into all the research and see everything. And as I was getting deeper into it, I was just kind of freaking out, just like the sense of responsibility and the burden. And I was like, I think I can. I don't think I can. And James was kind of the biggest advocate of like, yeah, don't get in your own way, don't get in your head. And it easily could have felt, stepping onto a set like this, like the stakes are so high, it could have felt very scary, and it didn't. It felt very free, I think, for all of us. And yeah, we had a blast. James was the biggest fan of us riffing and kind of finding stuff on the day, and he just sort of likes to play once we're doing things. So it was a blast.
I'm gonna go with football. Yeah, I'm gonna go with football. Is that works, right? You know, strength, speed. He's just gonna go right into the end zone every time. You know what I mean? Yeah, just fly right over him, pop it right in, and just yeah, that would make the most sense, I think.
Well, he realizes what a threat the change has been to the newspaper industry, and that media has to change, and that he has to be amorphic and ever-changing and flexible, and that there are so many different platforms that journalism has to be a part of, and if you don't change and evolve, that the paper will die. And that is a sense of desperation on his part to make sure that he stays viable, and that not only the business is viable, but that the craft of journalism is viable as well. Because in the time of ever-changing politics and dangers, the absolute truth of journalism becomes the one sword to really fight the true battles with. You know, we are soldiers without swords, but we are warriors when it comes to authenticity and truth, knowing that that is the ultimate power that we have, and that's important to him.
I think that Kat is a little jealous of her. I mean, she always wants to be the center of attention, and every guy's she wants to lust over her. So I think she's a little jealous, but she's also the first to get on that, and she might ship them. Who knows? We'll see. It was amazing. The spacecraft?
Yes.
The spacecraft was so cool. I mean, it was cool, but it was also so scary. We went into the spacecraft. Nobody gave us any real knowledge of what was going to happen. Right. And so we really thought, like, oh God, what if this just like drops? And it did. I mean, we were all a little freaked.
We're like 50 feet in the air, and all of a sudden, it tilts forward and tilts to the right, and also all the reactions to the movement are real, in real time, because we did not know if we were about to take off.
Yes, I was like, is this how my legacy is going to be in the spacecraft? This is it?
And I mean, I don't know what I should or should not give away about the spacecraft, but some of us were more secure than others. So they had it easy. I mean, compared to some of us, I won't say who or what.
Yeah.
Right. There weren't enough chairs for everyone.
Yeah.
But we brought everyone along.
The hope that it brings them, and the excitement, and knowing or feeling that all of us are in this life together. No, we shouldn't be fighting the way that we're fighting. We're all together in this life.
This movie has a huge capacity for joy. And sometimes we forget that in our hearts, really, there's a battle between pain and joy, joy and pain. But there's only room for one, really. And that's something that we have to decide which we choose to fill our hearts with, right? That anger, that pain, the joy, the optimism, the care and love of self and others, you know? How do you choose to live your life, you know? And you see this film and you say, I'm going to choose the joy because it has a huge capacity for joy.
Ooh, so many things.
So many things. I loved going to Svalbard. That was incredible. Almost felt like a little vacation.
Absolutely.
And I loved seeing the sets. Like, because they actually built sets like the Fortress of Solitude. For me, I was just like, oh, you guys should keep this set. Like, put it like in some
museum
or park, or just like make it a Superman ride or something.
Yeah.
What about you?
For me, it definitely was the action sequences and everything that I got to do. I had no abilities whatsoever in that area, and I trained for the longest time, and I got to be really, really close with the stunt team, and I admire them so much now, and I feel so much respect for stunts, and I feel so much gratitude, and that was fun. I faced so many fears. I had huge fear of heights. And I had to take off and like fly and all of that. And the first time I did it, nobody knew I was really scared but my stunt double.
Oh.
And when I took off like really quickly and they told me, Gabby, are you okay? It was a test. I was like, I'm great. I could not feel my legs.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but now I'm
You're like, I'm okay.
But now I'm okay. And it's so cool.
So I play Eve Tessmacher. I'm Lex Luthor's girlfriend, and I'm just fun and love taking selfies for the gram. And I'm just, I'm excited about literally everything because everything's just so new to me. My handsome, powerful boyfriend takes me to all these cool places, and I get to be there. And there's a little bit more than meets the eye.
She has a little bit of an all-access backstage pass.
Exactly. She gets to see everything, what happens, and she gets to decide for herself if she's okay with it or not.
So Angela is a former special ops, and she works for Lex Luthor, and she truly believes in Lex's vision for the world. She is somebody that's deeply affected by the way, the world acts and the path that humanity has taken, and she feels that she has to do something about it. So she really just sacrifices her life for the greater good, or what she believes. And she's somebody that's extremely capable before she became a metahuman, and now she's half machine and half human. I feel like it's that battle between those two inside of her, the human that has a conscience and that knows right from wrong, and then the machine that is more and more powerful the more she exercises those powers. And that was so interesting to be able to try to bring it to my body. How would that feel like?
I actually remember when I first saw him bald, and I was like, oh my God, like this is the most perfect casting. I think my favorite thing is, and it just tells about like his capability as an actor and his talent, is that he couldn't be more opposite of Lex, because he's the nicest, like shy like guy, and then he just in front of he just became this like mean boss, like, and you're like, where's Nick, and I mean, he's just incredible as Lex, and he really brings that power and like mean but still like doing this like alpha male kind of character. I mean, he's such an incredible actor, and you can really see it, especially if you know him in real life. You'll be like, wow.
To me, Nicholas is the perfect Lex because he brings humanity to the character. He's not just an evil guy. He has reasons, and he makes you believe in them, and you feel for him, I feel like I, as an audience member, I understand his journey, and I understand his reasons for doing what he does, and that's very interesting. That's a great, enemy for Superman, because you're like, of course, Superman is our hero, and he will always be, but I get you, and it's that humanity that I think makes a great actor. James. James is truly fantastic. I feel like for me, and I keep saying it, he freed me from my own thoughts, and he made me a better actor and a better colleague by letting me be myself. He's a person that has no facade. He does not like people hiding, behind masks, and that's so free. And he loves to curse. He's like really inappropriate, and so am I. And I didn't know that was allowed, And I see him being that way. I'm being so friendly at the same time and so open, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. I can be myself, and I think that's the greatest gift like you can give somebody.
Yeah, I mean, James is like the best at what he does, and you can really see by the people that he surrounds himself with on set, and you know, he has like a no assholes policy, and even like in the cast, everyone is just so nice, and it could have easily become like egos, but everyone is just so incredible and good at their job and nice. They're nice people, and it almost feels like you're filming an indie movie because he's been working with most of the crew for years, so they really know each other and they really work. It's like this incredible, well-oiled machine that it's just like, and I love that it's always on time. Like there's like barely any delays, and it's, and on top of that, it's just so fun to work with him. You know, he gives you so much liberty that you almost don't need because his writing is incredible. But you know, he'll be with his microphone. I'll be like, okay, now say this, and then you'll hear him laughing, and it's just like, you're like, okay, like you made James laugh, and you became like, oh, great. You're like, ah. So it's just really so fun, and he's just so collaborative, and yeah, it's just been like such a pleasure, yeah. I think they're gonna have an out-of-body experience.
I think they're gonna feel proud and happy and hopeful. Like they're gonna feel hope for humanity.
They're gonna feel like they're watching a comic book come to screen. Because that's how I felt. I felt like, oh my God, it's like I'm reading, but I'm actually watching. So it really felt like a comic book coming to life. But I think they're gonna be happy and hopeful, and they're gonna tear a little bit, and there's tons of action and heart, and it's great. Yeah.
I mean, he's iconic for the best, the top, the invulnerable, the most power, uncorruptible. When you want to, what is the highest, most upper echelon you can think of? That's Superman. And also, he's probably going to be on your side unless you're evil, right? So you can always count on him. That's the idea. You'd think, if everything's going terribly wrong, if only Superman were here. I think what really jumps off the page for me is that we're already here. We're already in a world that knows about Superman. And more so, it's not our world, which is something we've been sold many times, which is what would happen if Superman were real and came to our world. But this is more so, what if we existed in his world, that comic book world where interdimensional beings are a fact of life. Everybody gets it. There's aliens. We're not the only ones around here. Bank robbers are themed, you know, like the Animal Gang, and they all wear different, like that's the kind of comic book stuff. Giant robots. This is the stuff I was sold when I was reading comic books as a kid. And this is the world that James is letting us live in for a moment, which I think is very fresh and very different. This is a flawed man. You don't have to be good to wield a ring, a Green Lantern ring. You just have to have the will. And the will is something Guy Gardner has in spades, but he also has that little, that switch in his brain that's been flipped, that he's the Sophia of Golden Girls. He lacks that filter that says, maybe don't say that part, or maybe don't think that out loud. He lacks that part, and he's okay with that. And I think there's something really, as an actor, there's something very freeing about playing that kind of guy, about being a jerk. And I think also far more relatable. He's so prepared. He's so He has ideas. He knows what he's doing visually, costumes, color, music. He's got everything built up. He's got it all ordered up in his mind. He knows what's happening. So also you're just kind of also trying to play catch up with him. He's got a lot going on, that guy. He knows what he's doing. That's the thing. That's what's great about working with James.
He represents everything that's good and hope, and for me, kind of, I guess he transports me back to being, you know, a little kid, and that's what I feel being on these sets and seeing David in the costume. It kind of transports me into this kind of giddy childhood-like state. I think the thing that jumped out to me was that it was a James Gunn script, and his style of writing. You can kind of instantly imagine what this film becomes. Having seen a lot of his work and loved it, reading the script, I was like, oh, fantastic! It's James Gunn's take on a Superman story and world, and all these exciting characters and ideas that he's focused in on from the comics. So that's what was thrilling about it. I love him as a character. I think, you know, that was one of the things that I think James has really nailed in this script is Lex, you know, is the bad guy for the story, but there's also a lot of things in his character and in his ideas and persona that maybe are right and aren't initially too crazy of an idea. So as misguided as he might be, his moral perspective and judgment off, he's kind of believes in his soul that he's doing the best thing for humanity and he can protect them, and that these, you know, meta-humans are a threat to us all, and I think that place is quite a pure sense of where he's starting out from. Lex is already very heightened and aggressive and bitter and angry and all these things that kind of add up to him. Hopefully I didn't play it to like a caricature. We'll see. The engineer is someone that is an ex-special operative soldier who Lex has developed nanite technology, which is in her blood, so she can transform it into anything she can imagine. She's unstoppable. She marches through taking out robots and all this with ease, turning her hands into buzzsaws, and Gabby does an incredible job. She's been working so hard with the stunt team physically to prepare for all that, where she could do all these incredible moves and makes all the action that's happening physically so special. I've absolutely loved working with James, because there's two brilliant things about him, and it's his ability to know exactly what he wants and have a clear vision, and to know that that's going to work for what he's creating, but then also be very open to ideas and switching things up and trying things. So which is kind of the perfect thing as an actor, because you get that freedom to be like, oh, can we try this? Would this be interesting? Can I look at that? And if he likes it, then great, it'll happily be incorporated. But also at the same time, you feel this security and trust, in the sense of like, you know that he's got it and he knows what he needs. So once he's happy, you're like, great, that's it, and you can move on. So, I mean, just as a fan of his movies, I'm excited to see this film, because I think I would like it, even if I was nothing to do with it. I can just say that I'm excited for it, and I've got to read the script, I've got to be on set and see a small part of the movie, and from everything that I've seen, I'm like, oh, this is a movie that I would love to go to the cinema and see, so hopefully other people do too.
The values that Superman embodies and displays in these made-up films are the values that our dad displayed in his own life, before his accident and after. So it was natural, I think, for fans around the world to see him as some sort of real-life superhero in the final years of his life, because of the way that he approached his circumstances. Those were super heroic values in a way. Our dad will always be associated with Superman, but Superman will also always be associated with our dad. He defined the role. That movie defined the genre. So if anyone who's up next wants to take inspiration from our dad and from his best-known film, it's an honor for us, and we wish everyone all the best. I said to David, you don't need my blessing, but you have it. Like, go ahead, do your thing. We root for people, right? We're in the business of building people up and helping people and giving more than we take. So we're thrilled for him. He's a Juilliard-trained actor, which sits well with us as the children of a Juilliard-trained actor who made his name as Superman. We're very happy for everyone who's on this Superman journey.
Perry White is the editor-in-chief, and actually, for a newspaper man, it's a little scary because, you know, newspapers are kind of going out in this digital world, and especially the world of the movie. So it's to be placed in the middle of the action the way it is, it breathes new life into to Perry White and to the Daily Planet. And we meet him there on the floor in the newsroom with Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen and this new reporter, Clark Kent. To be a part of a film this iconic is very special. It's going to be a high water mark in my career. And personally, it was exciting to be on the set as a fan. You know, Perry White is a journalist, a newspaper man, and he's an observer. And actually, that's what I became while we were filming it. Well, it was fun. Listen, Skylar and Rachel and Christopher and Kat, the little crew of the Daily Planet, we had a blast. And Beck kept us laughing all the time. And so it was fun. And especially when we got to be a part of a little bit of the special effects. That's when it's like being a kid in a candy store, you know? It's really fun to do. It was really fun to watch them put it together. And so that was really cool. You know, James is that person, right? He has really done a deep dive into the world of Superman and all the things that make people a fan, an iconic of this iconic brand, you know, and this iconic figure. And the nuance of what he's going to do with it will bring everybody to the theater and make everyone really happy.
It was a dream come true. You know, I've wanted to make a Superman movie since 1978 when I saw the Dick Donner, Christopher Reeve Superman. I was a teenager in London, saw it in Leicester Square, and I've wanted to make one ever since. And so it was a dream come true to be able to make this movie with the guy that I think is the best superhero filmmaker working today, James Gunn. And the production was spectacular. You know, we really were able to do everything that we wanted to do in order to tell this story in a new way and bring Superman to a brand new generation, to really establish David Cornsweet as this next generation Superman. Cleveland is actually the place where Superman was created. Siegel and Schuster are both native Clevelanders. So the idea that we were shooting in the town in which this character was born was something very poetic about that. The second part is that Cleveland has a lot of those buildings from an era that spoke to us, that were kind of unchanged from those, you know, those times. And the look of the film that we wanted, that Beth Mickle, our production designer, and James really came up with, there was a lot of that just that organically existed in Cleveland. Just the look of the architecture felt like it was the right fit for us. And then the third part is Cleveland couldn't wait to get us there. They were so thrilled to have us, and you kind of want to be where you're wanted. And just the time that we spent shooting there, the locals couldn't have been more welcoming, couldn't have been more excited that we were there to make a film about their hometown hero. So it was a great call to be there. Just look at the guy. I mean, he looks like Superman. He's 6'4". He's got that great dark hair. He's got those blue eyes. He's as American as they come. He was, he lives outside of Philadelphia. He's married to a woman that he knew in high school. He's the all-American. And it's been a minute since there's been that kind of all-American Superman. But what he really brings to the table is a sense of goodness. He's a family man. He's a sweetheart. He looks after the cast and crew. He's got all the essential goodness that you want Clark Kent and Superman to have. And, we saw his audition tape. It might have been the very first day we started seeing tapes, certainly the first week. But once we saw him, we were like, we think we can make this movie. I think that Nick really creates the greatest embodiment of Lex Luthor that we've ever seen. And as much as I love other ones that have been, Gene Hackman was phenomenal, and Michael Rosenbaum in Smallville was fantastic. But we've never seen one as complete as this, as complete a performance. For me, in many ways, he's Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men, in the sense that what he thinks he's doing is for the good of the public. Like, he really is a believer in what he's doing. He's not just a guy with a plan to make more money for himself or, get more power. It is truly about, in his opinion, saving humanity. And so even though the methodology he's selected might be a little bit off base, you'll watch the movie and part of you is, maybe he knows what he's talking about. But he really does bring an incredible character to life with Lex Luthor. He's one of the great villains, and Nick gives him such layers. This film is very much about love and compassion and the essential goodness of the human spirit. And I think that those are qualities that we do need now more than ever. In a world that is somewhat divided, this is a film for everybody. This is a film that brings everybody together in a great spirit of humanity, in the great spirit of seeing the good in those around you.
Jimmy is a photographer at the Daily Planet. He works closely with Lois Lane, and they have a ton of respect for each other, and I think they take their jobs very seriously. And Jimmy's just kind of a guy. He's just kind of a guy doing his job. He loves journalism. He cares deeply about journalistic integrity, and he's just sort of a guy trying to do his job, really, no matter what else is going on. Pretty early in the script, there's just a 10-page scene that's a conversation between Lois and Clark. And when you're reading a superhero script, I think you're expecting every other page, laser battles and crazy. And this script has all of those things while also kind of balancing. It's just got a lot of heart, and there's such a human element to it. And also the approach James took with Superman as sort of like having an identity crisis, that it's really a movie about, struggling with your sense of self and what makes us who we are. And yeah. And also just across the board on all James movies, there's just so much heart. And that more than anything else, I was really struck by reading this script. James just has that Midas touch, I think. I think that sort of like he gets to the core of what these movies are, which is like everything that you want out of a superhero movie is there. I mean, you have like the just like the epic world building and a real original kind of take on all of that. But then there's also this like whimsical, very heartfelt, like human element to it as a through line through all of it. And there's just a lot of like comedy, and he cares so deeply about the characters. And I think that really comes through in this movie and kind of all his movies. But this one especially, seen as this is sort of like we're originating a lot of characters here and meeting them for the first time. And he kind of navigates all that in a way that I think is unique to him and to the DC world.
Eve originally came from the Richard Donner movies. So she's not necessarily a comic book character, so there was a lot of freedom to work with Eve. Eve is just like fascinated by everything and everyone around her, and she just loves clothes and taking selfies. I think in the back of her mind, she does start seeing Lex's real side. I think Eve is secretly a genius. James Gunn is amazing. He's so funny, but there's just no one that knows the superhero world more than he does, because he's a true fan. And you can see with the script, like, he just does justice to who Superman is and who all these characters are. And he really knows how to bring, like, the comedy without losing the heart. So, yeah, I mean, the script's amazing. I was a little intimidated, but everyone is just so nice, and everyone just has such a good energy, and everyone is so kind to each other, and I've been learning so much. And James is such an incredible collaborator, and it's just been the greatest experience of my life. I just learned so much from everyone and from him. The other thing is the fact that we have sets like this, and we're not really working just on a blue screen. I mean, especially me, because I have to react to everything with so excitement. I didn't even have to act. I was just like, oh my God, this is incredible. Yeah, like the sets have been, like, I remember seeing this set for the first time, and I was like, oh my God, it's incredible. It's just been surreal.
Lois Lane is a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist who is a star reporter at the Daily Planet. And I love that she's relentless in her life. She's relentless about her pursuit of the truth. She's relentless about the things that she cares about. She's passionate. And I feel like it makes her aspirational. I'm inspired by her, somebody who goes after everything full freight and who will literally go to the ends of the earth for the things she believes in. Sometimes literally. It was amazing in the moment. I was always aware of Lois Lane. I grew up on the Chris Reeve Superman with Margot Kidder, and I just thought she was amazing and so smart and funny and sharp, and it still kind of feels like a dream. I can't believe we're here embodying these iconic characters. And the response from the outside has been so amazing. It's feels like it's multiplied the excitement just getting to talk to people on the outside about what these characters mean to them. I'll never forget when we were testing, right as I was leaving, I walked past this fitting room and David was trying on a version of the suit. We didn't know we had the job, and I just remember looking at him in the suit and being like, my God, he just is. He just is Superman, and he is Clark. There's an earnestness to both of them that feels really unique, and it's been awesome to watch him craft the two characters and craft that thing in the middle. James Gunn's set is infusing a movie with love and hope. He did a deep dive on all of us, and he brought together this group of people who are just excited to be here and happy to be here every day. And he loves these universes. He loves these characters, and that kind of energy comes from the top. And so it's just been a blast. We've had so much fun. He has a crystal clear vision for what he wants to do, but he's also really collaborative, and he's made space for us to play and find things and work together. And it's just been awesome.
One of the things I love the most about Superman is that he believes in the power of people to be good. And I feel like he's curious about what it means to be human and wants to uplift the people around him and honor the people who raised him in Ma and Pa Kent. And so he's a superhero, but he's a superhero who's both invincible and also in search of his own humanity.
I mean, the summer of Superman, that's just it. I think that there's gonna be a wild ride that people are in store for. There's gonna be just this kind of excitement for, honestly, the beginning of a whole new chapter when it comes to DC. And it's gonna start with a real bang. I mean, I think it's really gonna wow people, and it's really gonna kind of, take people back to the kind of heart of really what it's about. Metamorpho, AKA Rex Mason, AKA the Element Man, he's a very complicated figure. He's kind of cursed in a certain way with, in the comic books, he's literally cursed. But he's very uncomfortable with his powers, and his powers being able to metamorphose himself into any substance based on, the periodic table. And he is, a very complicated figure. He doesn't really like the fact that he is a superhero. He doesn't like the fact that he has been gifted these powers, and he sees it as a curse. And so just as an actor, it's a really, fantastic thing to be playing someone that nuanced. James's set is one of the coolest I've ever been on. It strikes this balance of being so huge and so epic and so colorful and having such kind of wonder to it, but it's also so grounded in being a good time. We're all having the best time filming this movie. There's a camaraderie that you really don't get very often, and especially on big things where a lot of that stuff just gets lost in the weeds. James prioritizes it. He makes sure that everyone is tapping into that kind of heart that is in the script, that's in the movie. And you can feel it. You can feel it that everyone is kind of pitching in to bring this wonderful energy. And I sensed it immediately when I was on set. And it makes really difficult scenes quite easy because you just have this immense wave of energy carrying you while you're doing it. It's a character that is kind of possessing godlike powers, and yet he's also quite sensitive and misunderstood and feels quite alienated. So there's an interesting kind of dichotomy there where you have this incredibly powerful being matched with this pathos of pain and difficulty in terms of his experience.
This man is an extraordinary person, but he's also got a lot of depth. He lost his wife in an accident, so he's dealing with some emotional issues as well. So he's not perfect. He's a flawed human being. And he's also a human being in a world of gods and monsters. So this character, I think he's a special sauce in the equation of the DCU. The Justice Gang is different because it's a superhero team that's really made up of only 3 individuals. So it's not a big, expansive superhero team. And they're kind of nascent. So they're a little ragtag. They work well together in that their strengths complement each other. You know, Guy Gardner has that ring that he can do anything with, and Hawkgirl can also fly, and she'll kill you. And Mr. Terrific is the brains of the operation. This is probably the best set that I've ever been on. And it's because the magic is James. He not only wrote the material, he knows it intimately, and he's directing this film, but he also does create an environment where there's just total freedom. And freedom can be scary because if you have all that freedom and you don't have anything to access, then you feel like a failure. But you have James, who together helps you find new things that you couldn't anticipate. He's a magician.
The costume department has done an incredible job designing this suit from scratch. The first time I saw a glimpse in the monitor, after we had shot something, I saw a little bit of playback of the suit, of me in the suit on camera. I thought, yeah, that looks pretty freaking cool. And then just today, when we did the publicity photo shoot, I think that was the first time that I said, like, oh, this is yeah, I mean, it's an iconic look. The first thing that Rachel brings to the character is the inquisitive, I mean, just the way she squints at you, even, and sort of pauses and gives you a chance, and you sort of know that she's listening to every word you say, which is great. And to start this movie with 2 solid days of 12 pages of dialogue back and forth with her, the scene we screen tested with, was a really great way to start, because it also established that the heart of the movie is in the characters and their relationships. And while there's going to be some banging action, the core of it is about people and their ideas and their ideals. I'm so grateful to have James as director. To have a director who is so known for spectacle and for heart as well, but I think he has a great simplicity to the heart in his films. To realize that he also is interested in incredibly complex dialogue. There was nothing that was off the table. There was nothing that was not of interest to him. I think it should be a big summer. I think it's going to be a fun movie. I think the promotion of the film is going to be a lot of fun. We've got a great cast, love hanging out with each other, and are very excited about what we're making. I think we're making some really cool stuff that's going to be worth waiting for and worth getting hyped about and worth seeing on a big screen. James has a big imagination, and he needs a big canvas to paint on. I think he and Henry, our DP, really wanted to feel like you were present in this world and to really feel like you're up close and in there. I think you just want to be immersed in the experience. So you want that screen to reach from one end of your vision to the other. You don't want any distractions while you're watching this movie.
His optimism and his hope is something that will never really go out of style. I think that's why Superman has sort of transcended time, and the message is what never really dies. He has his history, but at the end of the day, he's just like a good man alien who just wants to be mostly man, just like us, and protect us from harm. Like, it's really sweet. He's like an alien who's adopted us. Kendra's got some issues, so she sort of like leads with anger. I think at all times she sort of leads with this sort of like war cry mentality. She lets out a war cry every time she's about to strike. I mean, she's like not even scared to be not even scared enough to be stealthy. Like, she just yells and she's like, I'm here and I'm everywhere because I can fly really fast and I have a mace that's completely unforgiving. Even if I accidentally swing it your way, you're done. he's the perfect kind of grown up in the sense that like he's able to maintain, you know, his responsibilities and his schedule intact, like, and also speak to other people with respect and he just has his together. Sorry for my French, but also at the same time, he hasn't lost any of his childlike wonder or joy or expression and imagination and curiosity. I think he's got a really good balance of that. And for that, I think he's the perfect guy to be working on this. He's also really good at like making you feel something instantly towards and for these characters.
She can make herself into anything she can imagine. And not only herself, but she can create, you know, different weapons, complex machinery outside of herself. She can make clones of herself, which is really, really cool. So that's kind of on the outside. And on the inside, I think she's very broken. She has some really rough past that made her believe that the world is completely broken and needs to be fixed no matter the consequences and no matter how many people get hurt and no matter what she has to do. She's gonna work really hard to fix what's broken to make sure that people don't suffer. Lex is my boss. He's the engineer's boss. He is one of the most powerful humans in the planet, and he's brilliant. He's a genius that has a profound love for science and knowledge, and you know, he has the means to create this crazy technology that could potentially help the world. And I think people choose to believe that Lex will move the world forward and help us evolve. But of course, we will find out that he's not really a great person. And so they have a complex relationship because Lex created the engineer. So at this point in her life, she owes her powers to him. James is just such a fun guy, and he knows exactly what he wants. And he's not messing around. He goes straight to the point, and he tells you what he needs and expects you to deliver. He truly hires the best people for the job. And he expects you to be to bring your A game. So that's very challenging and that's very fun. That's a great leader right there. And I love him. I'm just a big fan. He brings the magic, I think, to his sets. And I talk to everybody that has worked on a James Gunn film set, and they all feel the same way.
One of the biggest inspirations for this film, especially from a visual perspective, but also tonal perspective, is Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely's All-Star Superman. So taking the visual language of that graphic novel, but then adding in an element of, I guess, realism of, you know, of the handheld camera that I use to kind of keep the characters more grounded and feeling as if it's a part of our real world within this incredibly big and colorful and bright environment. And then also having some of the grit of the 70s movies that I love and that the original Superman was one of. To keep some elements of that, I think it was mostly a combination of those three things. Rachel is a dynamo, and the character is a dynamo. She's incredibly energetic and funny and fast-witted and powerful. And I remember at one time, Rachel turned to me and she said, "I'm scared playing this character." And I was like, "Why?" And she said, "Because I've never played someone ever who is so close to me." And I think that's true. I think Rachel's a lot like Lois. I think it's being able to see all the elements of filmmaking come together in a big spectacle film that is also very personal, and to have a unique experience watching this movie that takes advantage of actual real special effects, of visual effects, of the musical score, which is so enormous and big and pounding, and to really be able to experience something in a way in a theater that you never could if you're just watching it at home. I was very afraid about finding the right Superman, and luckily I saw David reading on the first day, and I was like, holy God, that's amazing. He was reading from a couple of scenes, but one of the main scenes was the scene where he's arguing with Lois about his place in the world. And it wasn't the exact scene. I had rewritten it so that it was just an audition scene, so it didn't give anything away. And anyway, he was great. And I think that, you see him in that scene in the movie and you realize this guy's just a fantastic actor, and he also just happens to look and act and sound a lot like Superman. In this movie, you see Lois is more than a match for Superman, and you see why somebody as cool and as powerful and as good as he is would fall in love with her. She's a complete force to be reckoned with, and she's the one that's uncertain in the relationship, not him. Superman's a lot like David, Not true about Nick. Nick's nothing like Lex Luthor whatsoever. But he's the nicest guy. He's definitely not Lex Luthor. And he works the hardest. He's very hard on himself. He's constantly trying to give me what I want. And I pushed him the hardest. I pushed him by far the hardest of anybody in the movie.